Meanwhile, back in June.
I can't get you out of my mind. It's like I feel it for the first time. Been thinking about you all night. I've been searching for this all my life.
So guys, for this tour, I'm using this app, and you can get like a 3-day trial, free trial, and then you can cancel it. But it's gpsmycity.com. Lose yourself without getting lost. And so on this map, on this one, I hit sightseeing walks, and then you see Martin Luther King right here. So I went into there, and then it shows me all the things I can go to. And right now we're about to go to his house, his birth home. Okay, I can click this right here, and I can say get directions, and it's going to give me the walking directions on how to get there. Once there, I can also click it some more, and it's going to give me some things, some little history about the site that we're looking at, and everything that you hear right now I am getting from this app. Wow. Most of the audio that I use in this video I got from this app.
They have 5 keys, 2 keys, and then 5.
So this is a great way to do a free tour around your city. And if you do choose to keep the app, it's $12.99 for the whole year, or $18.99 for the expanded version, something to that effect. Again, check with the app and you can see the exact cost and what things are, and then you can determine yourself if it's worth it or not. Probably while you have the free 3-day, check out some of the other places that you may want to go to visit, or even check out what's locally available in your own city, and that way you can determine if this is worth it or not. And this is not sponsored. I happened to find this today while I was looking for things to do and free walking tours and such around Atlanta. So Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. was born on Auburn Avenue. And Auburn Avenue is where you will be able to find the centers dedicated to his memory and his honor. Now, when restoring the house that he was born in, they've also restored a lot of the surrounding homes and buildings, and one of them being this firehouse right here. And I guess it makes sense because it's like you'll have this one restored home, the home he was built in, which is a national treasure right now, and then you'll have all these other homes surrounding it and fall into disrepair. So they restored several of the homes. So we're strolling to his home, and all of this is walkable, so it's a worthwhile walkable tour. And these homes right here, they have like private residence written on them, so I guess people don't get confused, like, no, we are not. We are not a museum of houses from back in the day. Well, people still live here.
They look like
oh, look, that one has a plaque in front of it. Oop, now you know I need to cross the street and go look at it. That's probably why it's like, don't get it twisted. Yeah, but this one has a plaque. Shotgun houses. Okay. All right. So this is what it's showing. These duplexes are typical of the houses where Atlanta's blue-collar laborers lived in the 1900s, in the early 1900s. The Empire Textile Company built them for its white mill workers, but they moved out after the 1906 Atlanta race riot, and blacks began renting them. The houses generally are 1 room wide and up to 4 rooms deep. They are called shotgun houses because the interior and exterior doorways are aligned, so a shot supposedly could be fired through them from front to back. Another theory is that the name comes from the African word tugun, which means a place to assemble, a place of assembly. I wonder if they get like extra money or something for that sign being like in front of their homes. Oh, look, here go another house. Oh, look, baby, that's the house we're going to be going to.
That's it.
Yep. Let's walk over here and double check. Ooh, come on, baby. Don't get hit. Don't get hit. This says middle class dwelling. Note the stained glass windows on the first floor. Okay, the decorative shingles and woodwork on the end of the gable and irregularly shaped roof. Look for these and other Queen Anne architectural features, ornamental moldings and spindles on many of the dwellings in the neighborhood. These gingerbread flourishes became popular during Victorian era. Whites built the first occupied this house and many others in the neighborhood. After the 1906 race riots, the educated middle class began settling here. And right here, Martin Luther King Jr. was born in this house January 15th, 1929. Birth home, play now.
Appreciate the history.
Hello, how are you?
I'm well.
Good. Yeah. So.
Get this out of your way.
I have a quick question. Okay, so touring this home is actually free. However, go to the visitor center first. They say go first thing in the morning because they do issue passes that are on a first come, first served basis. Now I hear that they go fast, meaning that they will open around 10 in the morning. Some websites say 9 in the morning. And when you go there and line up and get your pass, they will issue them for different time slots. So by 10 o'clock in the morning, usually all the time slots are gone, like shortly thereafter. So do that. But they do say that on Saturday mornings from 10 to 12, you do not need a pass. You can just come, line up, and you can go through the house on your own. But if you want a guided tour, which actually sounds nice, you have to go get a time slot. On Saturdays, the guided tours begin in the afternoon. So check that out. But until then, you can come get on the porch, walk around the porch, and know that, wow, this is where little M.L. King played and ran around. It's pretty neat. Well, I guess you can kind of walk through to the yard, can't you? Oh, the yard's roped up, fenced in. But yeah. And as you see, that these were the homes of the black middle class after white people started moving out of the neighborhood. Now they hung up the swinging chair. It's just so interesting because this reminds me of like my grandparents' home, right, in Providence. And I guess so because these, like they said, this is like Queen Anne style. So these are styled after British colony homes, which you will find all throughout New England, which is like the home that my grandparents lived in Rhode Island. So yeah, these are all kind of like, you know, they're the same. They're built the same. And these were single family homes back in the day. Now they be cutting these babies up and making them into multiple family units. You know what I mean? Like back in the day, one family lived in this house. And you think about it, like early America or the 1900s or whatever, people were encouraged to have larger families. And then they will also have family members who lived with them. So larger homes made sense. But now they're like, oh, we can get 2-3 homes out of this and rent them all out. I'm like, this definitely reminds me of a New England neighborhood. But then again, no, New England came first. New England came first. When we think about the original colonies and the colonization of America. But again, I feel like maybe it's because they're all patterned after homes in Great Britain. And look, this street, Auburn Street, has so many of these signs. We're just going to walk to this one right here and cross the street. But so far, it's like as I look down further and further, I'm seeing more and more of these signs. And me being the historical nut I am wants to go and read them all. So let's read about Bryant Preparatory Institute. I wonder if it used to be on this plot of land and it's not here anymore. So after working all day, blacks crowded into 5 rooms over a grocery store here to take courses at Sylvia Bryant's adult night school. Bryant Preparatory Institution had 4 teachers and a full enrollment of 175 students when it opened in 1910. Public schools at the time were segregated and extended only to the 8th grade for blacks. Mrs. Bryant's school and other private academies provided blacks, such as Martin Luther King Sr., with opportunities for higher education. So there's Sylvia Jenkins Bryant, offered courses in reading, writing, and arithmetic, and dressmaking, printing, and other trades. Her husband, the Reverend Peter James Bryant, taught a course for up-and-coming preachers. There you have it. I just dug into work over and over, working all the time, carrying my books with me wherever I went, reading, going over the lessons until they were ready to pop out of my ears. And that was Martin Luther King Sr., who, as a truck driver, started at Bryant at age 20 in the 5th grade and went on to college. Wow. So does this mean he was 20 years old and he was in the 5th grade, like at the 5th grade level? Wow. Y'all, we are a people who overcame and conquered. For real. Okay, we're coming up on another sign. And we're kind of thinking that as the National Park Services renovated the homes, I'm deducing that the price of that renovation was the allowance of these signs, I believe. Harper House, 535 Auburn Avenue. Charles Lincoln Harper, who lived here from 1891 to 1945, worked tirelessly as an educator and civil leader to overturn Atlanta's segregationist policies. As principal of Booker T High School, which Martin Luther King Jr. attended, Harper instituted numerous vocational and college prep courses designed to improve the lives of blacks. He later served as the first executive secretary of the Black Georgia Teachers in Education Association and as president of the Atlanta NAACP chapter. All right, let's look at this one here. Noel Family House, and this sign is new. This is new, I wonder if people who have history with the homes petition the National Park Services to include them on this. But this says the Noel family purchased this home in 1936 and took in boarders or short-term renters, ooh, that's like me, for over 70 years. The King family at 501 Auburn Avenue also welcomed boarders to earn extra income and support their community. Don't play. I'm doing God's work, taking in my boarders. Boarding houses like this, like the ones on Auburn Avenue, were often the only option for black travelers, including everyone from businessmen to preachers to laborers. This discrimination inspired the creation of the Negro Motorist Green Book, a guidebook that listed black-friendly businesses by city and state. My family shares stories about our family's legacy, Dr. King and the Civil Rights Movement, how my aunts provided Dr. King with child care on occasions, and how my father played with Dr. King. These stories had a profound influence on me. And then look, that's an example of the Green Book. I've always heard about this, guys. Jetty Norwell was the family matriarch, owner of the home, and friend of Mrs. Alberta King and Mrs. Hooga Brooks. She also worked as a missionary to help people down on their luck in their community. Jetty reconfigured the home to house boarders in the basement and 2nd floor. Jetty's daughter, Annie Noel Johnson, worked as a seamstress and continued the tradition of housing boarders after she inherited the home. Victor Green founded the Green Book in New York City and quickly became popular across the country. The book's purpose, Green wrote, was to save black travelers as many difficulties and embarrassments as possible. Let's continue, guys, being that y'all are on Tinesha and Jay's tour of Auburn Street. Auburn Street tours, a relaxing atmosphere, was 526 Auburn Avenue. Auburn Avenue was like a parade ground. Families and friends were constantly visiting back and forth. In the evenings, couples such as Frank and Eula Kirk, who lived here, for 40 years, relaxed in rocking chairs and wicker swings as they chatted with neighbors on the next porch and passers-by. Boys and girls played marbles and hopscotch, stretched their legs on seesaws and swing sets, and pedaled their bicycles up and down the streets. Out back, mothers and fathers and grandparents tended to vegetable gardens, trimmed hedges, and gossiped over the fence with neighbors. Yes, we made scooters out of skate wheels. When we got tired of skating from December through January, February, if you didn't wear out your skates, you take them apart and make a scooter out of 2x4s and skate wheels. 522, yeah, who knows what's happening here, but yeah, they're renovating or something. But back in the day, Brian Graves' house looked gentrified. Oh no, he a tour guide, don't he? I'm like, are you a tour guide? This was the home of Reverend Peter James and Bryant, and later Antoine Graves. Here, Bryant wrote sermons he delivered as pastor of Wheat Street Baptist Church. He also worked as an associate editor of The Voice of the Negro, a national literary magazine. All right. This house looked like it needs the National Park Services to come through. They must have said no. Because look at all the wood rot on the bottom.
They don't have a plaque.
Yeah, they must have been like, no, we don't want any part of this. Right? Some people feel like they don't want to, sell out per se. Because again, it comes with, conditions. So neighborhood pride. Aromas of newly mown grass and fresh paint drifted along the avenue as residents trimmed their lawns and hedges and painted their houses and fences. The neighborhood buzzed with activity as other residents tended their flower gardens, shrubs, fruit trees, and potted ferns. Owners and renters alike spent countless hours keeping their homes and neighborhoods neat and clean. Even the poorer residents swept their dirt yards, a custom they brought with them from rural areas. Joseph and Lavada Shaw, who lived here from 1924 to 49, were a hardworking couple. He was a railway mail clerk, and she helped local blacks at the Fulton County social caseworker. And this one here. Stepping up. With its fish-scale gable shingles, ornate porch brackets, and diamond-shaped and octagonal windows, this Queen Anne Victorian, and remember Queen Anne Victoria, see that's all of that Victorian, Queen, King, what is it called in Britain? The royals, the royal lineage, symbolizes financial success. White Atlantans who had become successful in business or in professions built and occupied most of the homes in the semi-suburban block in the late 1800s and early 1900s. Among them was R.J. Macy, who lived here for 10 years. Blacks who subsequently moved into the area also were proudly stepping up the social scale. At one time, Alice T. Francis helped blacks improve their lot in life by operating an unemployment agency here. From 1937, that's the year my grandfather was born, until 1949. If you were out and you were playing with a group of kids in the neighborhood and somebody was called to dinner, everybody went and everybody ate. Oh my goodness, that will not, my budget can't afford that. Y'all better go home. It didn't matter whether you lived there or not, you were a member of that family. Oh, I love it. Jay would love that. Jay would love it. Time to eat. And then everybody comes running and, oh, I only made 5 pieces of chicken. If y'all don't go home. So this is Auburn Street, and again, there go Martin Luther King Jr.'s birth home. He lived here until about the age of 12. I picked that up from the tour guide. who was going by. Yeah, so about the age of 12 years old, that was where he lived. Did we read these ones? I don't feel like we did. All right, so we have these with their backs facing us. So we have to kind of go around to the front to read them. Okay. Well, the birthplace. Oh, okay. So this is telling us about the house across the street, guys. All right. So here we go. For his first 12 years, Martin Luther King Jr. lived in the comfortable middle-class home across from you. Two cultural values distinguished the King household: a strong sense of family and ever-presence of religion. Bad behavior often met a stern response. Good behavior received a warm embrace. Evening meals always waited until Daddy King came home. Prayer and scripture readings punctuated the day. Daddy King's status as pastor of Ebenezer and strong maternal influences ensured a stable and secure upbringing for the King children. While the anguish caused by the Depression swirled all around them, the Kings lived comfortably in their home and church, a neighborhood mainstay. My mother and father went out of their way to provide everything for their children. I went right on through school. I never had to drop out to work or anything. And I was about to conclude that life had been wrapped up for me in a Christmas package. Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. from his speech, Why Jesus Called a Man a Fool, August 27th, 1967. Dr. King returned often to his neighborhood here with two of his own children, Martin III and Yolanda. The home was acquired by the King Center in 1971, and it opened to the public in 1975. Aww. The King family, about 1939, this picture was taken in. Left to right, Alfred Daniel, AD, Christine, and Martin. And Martin's name was Michael when he was born, and then they later changed it to Martin. Standing, Martin's mother, Alberta Williams King, Martin Luther King Sr., and grandmother Jenny Williams, who lived with the family until her death in 1941. Look at them. And then right here, the home. Young Martin Luther King Jr.'s childhood here was entirely normal. He did his chores and received his allowance. Neighbors often saw him bouncing a ball off the side of the house or riding the bike along the street. He fought with his brother. He once hit his brother, AD, over the head with the phone. And though physically small, he was intensely competitive. Neighborhood kids risked getting hurt when playing against him in football or basketball. King's boyhood home dates to 1895. Its 14 rooms were enough to house an extended family, which it did throughout ML's youth. At the time of King's birth, the home belonged to his maternal grandparents. They lived downstairs, he, his siblings, and his parents upstairs. The arrangement was typical of families along Auburn Avenue, and the effect reverberated throughout King's life. He would continue to work and pray with his parents until his death in 1968. And then there's some rooms of the home. Okay. So. No, I didn't say that. No, this is a different bush. This could be fine. Yeah, because at first I wanted my bushes cut like this. And he's like, you ain't got them kind of bushes. Yeah. But he did research. And then that's what we came up with, the best thing to do with them. We looked at pictures of what could be done. Here you go. Yeah. So guys, we're gonna be crossing over Boulevard. Is that the name of the street? Boulevard? Or is this MLK Boulevard? What is this? Well, whatever it is, we're gonna be crossing over. Let's just say Boulevard. And then we're gonna be going back to our car. Okay, so on the other side of the street, we see again, that's the Coretta Scott King Center for Cultural Peace, or it might be called the Martin Luther King. Hold on, I'll read it. There's a nursing center.
Martin Luther King Center.
It's the Martin Luther King Center. Okay, Martin Luther King Center. But Coretta Scott King helped to establish this center because, of course, this was established. Well, obviously a lot of it was established after Dr. King passed away. Except for, of course, the original Ebenezer Baptist Church. But right here we have this is the National Historic Park, Martin Luther King. So it tells you right here where you can go. There's Firehouse number 6 over there. And I don't know if you can tour that or whatever, but there's Ebenezer's, which you can tour. And then the MLK Birth Home, which you can tour. But check the site to figure out the rules of how to be able to tour the inside of the home. Ebenezer Baptist Church, you don't need a special ticket in order to tour. This is the new Ebenezer Church. Now this is a for real every Sunday come to church. This isn't just like a tourist site, okay? But there's the visitor center, which is, and they rarely ever do church services at the original Ebenezer Church. Sometimes for holidays and special occasions, they may do that, but this is open to be toured up until like 5 p.m. And again, check with the websites. So yes, Martin Luther King Jr. Center for Nonviolence and Social Change right here. And then the other thing about the visitor center, on the sidewalk in front of the visitor center, you have like a Hollywood Walk of Fame of sorts. You have the shoe prints, the prints of giants who walked before you, especially giants who helped and were pivotal in the civil rights movement and pivotal in the life of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., the Jr. We have this statue where Jay doesn't understand why he's wearing a thong. But this is called Behold the statue here. And we're going to our car. We parked on the street, which we believe was free. So when we get back to our car, we're going to see. But they have parking all around here. There's different ways to park. But again, you may have to pay a meter in some locations. Yeah, the car's still there. I said, the question is there a ticket? Let's cross. Yeah, that's the question. So
throw out the garbage because they don't have a garbage can.
Oh, so yeah, so like this right here, but there's a meter booth in here, so you pay here. But we parked right here on the street. You see that there's parking lines, and there wasn't any instruction as far as pay a meter or whatever. So this is where we are. And you can see where, like, this is the old Ebenezer Baptist Church, and that's the new Ebenezer Baptist Church. So that's where we are. This is Jackson Street, where you can find some parking. Because this is a good place to begin your tour, right here. Right here. So it's the next morning, and we are back to get into line to take the tour of Martin Luther King's birth home. And again, this is a free tour, so it's pretty dope. And it's ran by Parks and Services. It's a Saturday, so it opens at 10 a.m., which is just turning 10 right now. And all you have to do is get in line. Oh, look, that's the store. This house is the park store. And then this house is the house. All right, the line is not too long, guys, which is pretty dope. Right, Jay? That's fine. Okay. So it's pretty cool. I thought the line was going to be way longer because we got here right at 10. But no, this is manageable. They said that they're going to do about groups of 10 at a time to go into the house. So that gives you plenty of space to not feel like you're crowded or, you know, like there's so many people looking at the same things. So that's pretty nice. So we'll see how fast this goes. Baby, time check. What time is it?
10:59. I mean 9:59.
All right, so it's 9:59 right now, and so we're gonna see at what point we get in the house. So how long did we stand in line? Okay, there's like about a good 20 to 30 people ahead of us. So
Rooms here. There's a lot to explore, both you'll see in the house, but frankly, a lot of people to explore as well. This was a multi-generational home. It was really not his parents' home; it was his grandparents' home, his maternal grandparents, and so they had the grandparents. When you're back in the kitchen, it's a very modern kitchen for its age. That was not Dr. King's mother's kitchen. That was his grandmother's kitchen. His mother got to help out with her mother in the kitchen there. But there's aunts and uncles and fathers. Of course, he had an older sister and then a younger brother. So there's a lot of folks in the household here. But then it's not too long before he kind of graduates and gets out into the backyard. And when he gets out in the backyard, he starts discovering a whole new world. And what he starts discovering is children from a lot of other families up and down this street. If you look up and down the street, this is the largest home in the neighborhood, but there's other large homes. These were all built in that 1890s, mid-1890s period. It was kind of an expanding suburb of Atlanta. That's Atlanta over yonder. So this was a new suburb in that 1890s period. And in Dr. King's childhood in the 1930s, folks in those homes would be, and we've got signs about it because we know who some of them were, would be African-American physicians and attorneys and journalists, educators. Harper Home down at the end of the street. Dr. Harper was the first principal of Booker T. Washington High School, the high school where Dr. King went when he was a youth. So those are children that he is playing with, children of relatively well-to-do African-American families. But look, 2 doors down on either side, there's an apartment building. And who's living in those apartment buildings? It's hotel maids and Pullman porters and folks who are working in the trades, cooks, and they have children too. And they all start gravitating in this backyard here. Look across the street. Now these, by the way, are the new houses in the park. Those houses were not built until 1911, so they're only about 110 years old. Those were built as housing for German immigrant workers in a textile mill that was about just right across the tracks, about 2 blocks away. In that largest textile mill in Atlanta. They brought in some German immigrants to work in their labor. So in the back, behind this apartment building over here, there is a set of we call them the alley shacks. Now you will see that they are very well constructed shacks back there. They were built by a master craftsman, African American contractor, but they were 2 rooms with no electricity, no running water, just a fireplace between those 2 rooms. And so Dr. King gets to play with all those children. That's where he begins to learn, hey, we can all live together. He learns about beloved community right here in his backyard. I think we're about ready to go in, folks. We got 3 rules inside. Rule number 1, please don't reach out and touch things. Rule number 2, no photography inside the house, so if you will just hold your cameras until you get back out, great spot out front. If you want photos of rooms inside the house, if you go next door in the Zachary home, go in the front parlor, and we've got large photos of the rooms in here. You can take them on your camera. They've got a store in there as well. You can buy postcards.
So guys, we were lucky. This home is going to be closed off. This is the Martin Luther King home for renovations. And she says eventually, any day now, because at first the notice was it was going to be closed in March, and it's June right now. So she says, but signs that it's going to be closing is the fact that they have the backyard closed off. So this used to not be closed off before, but now it is. So yeah. So right now we're in the backyard of the house next door, which is the store now. But he was saying that these homes were shacks built. Let's see. Let's read what the sign says. All right. So closed off, right? So it says 493 Auburn Avenue. So you look. They look like this. After Atlanta's 1906 race riots, this residential area transformed from a German-American community It's a predominantly African-American community. These 3 shotgun-style houses were built between 1911 and 1912. They represent the diverse socio-economic neighborhood that Dr. King grew up in. These houses were known locally as alley houses because they sat in the alley between 2 Queen Anne-style homes. They were built as rental properties and housed blue-collar workers such as laborers, domestics, Pullman porters, railroad firemen, and factory workers. The exteriors and foundations of these structures were stabilized in 2008. The National Park Service is in its planning and development stage of renovating and refurbishing this property, which will improve the preservation efforts and the interpretive story of the Martin Luther King Jr. National Historical Park. Guys, Martin Luther King is the only person outside of the presidents that have a national historical park, right? And what they were saying about these homes, now listen, babe, these homes are pretty big. They're pretty big because they're like, he said they're like about 2 rooms a piece. They have like about 2 rooms in them, but they don't have plumbing, they don't have electricity, they don't have any of these things. But you know, it reminds me of like when you think about the modern small home movement, right? But yet these are bigger than small homes. So imagine if somebody who was into small homes invested in this. You can't because the park already owns it, but imagine if a small home person invested in something like this. Like these would be huge small homes when you look at the size. And the size is like, cut this in half. So this is one side, this is another side. So this side has 2 rooms in it. But imagine like a small home renovation, the fact that those 2 rooms could be renovated to have so much space when you think about the small home by small home standards. But the fact of the matter is, people lived in these and they paid rent to live in these, and they weren't even given, like, you know, didn't have electricity, it didn't have plumbing. Like there were so many things they didn't have, and these things were built in an alley. They were built in an alley, like somebody's driveway. Like, wow. Yep, here goes another little thing. That you can see right there, that's an apartment building. So that's the back of an apartment building. But here we go right here. So it says, blacks of various socioeconomic levels lived in this Auburn Avenue neighborhood. When Martin Luther King was a boy, middle-class families tended to live in single-family homes they either owned or rented. Low-income laborers stayed in apartment houses like this one, or rented 1-story alley buildings similar to those in the back. So, because baby don't listen to me, so I can talk to y'all. This is the other thing we learned. So, the Park Services owns these houses, right? And they said that we can go to the visitor center and we can get our name on a list or whatever to get information, because these homes on Auburn Street, which at one point was designated the richest street, the wealthiest street in America. Now, I don't know if that was Black America or America, but in one of the Americas, Black or all, it was dubbed the richest street because they had so many entrepreneurs who lived on the street, right? What you can do now is you can actually rent out one of these homes for a month or for several years. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. So I'm gonna go see about that list. And then the other thing he said is, when they renovated this neighborhood, when Park Services bought the neighborhood and they renovated the neighborhood, hold on, we're gonna stand in this shade. He said that the tenants who lived in here, because a lot of these things were already tenant homes, people rented these homes. Some of them fell into disrepair, all kind of things. So Park Services had to rebuild them and get them back to standard. So of course you have people who live in the homes, and their concern was, well, while you're renovating, where am I gonna go? So what they would do is they would move them from one home, let's say right here, to another home, right? And then the other concern was, well, after you renovate them and make them spiffy, how much is my rent gonna be? So Park Services entered an agreement to say, whatever you pay, that's gonna be your rent. We're not gonna increase the rent. Your rent is gonna be what it is. Now, because these belong to the national park and because you live in homes owned by the national park, they told them, keep your blinds closed because you're going to have people milling around, people like me, and they're going to try to look through your windows, even though Park Services put the private residence signs up, right? But you know how we are, how some people can be. It's like, oh, curiosity. Oh, a blind is open. Oh, let's peek in. So keep your blinds closed unless you don't mind people peeking in. And then the other thing they said was, oh, these are not like New York rent control homes. Whereas if I'm Tinesha Davis and I live here, now my son lives here, I can't just pass this on from generation to generation. Once you move and or die, then the rent goes to market value, whatever the market value rent is. So he says there's one person who still lives in one of these homes from the 80s, who still lives here, and her rent is still what her rent was in the 80s. So we don't know what that is, but good gracious, I would like to know. I would like to know. I'm gonna try to ask at the visitor center and see if they'll tell me, because I'm pretty sure they was probably told, don't be telling what people's rent is, but but we don't know which one it is, so you know, but that's pretty cool. But he was like, it's probably like $70 a month or something. So whatever the going rent was for the 80s, I'm pretty sure you can research and find out. But I just think that is so freaking interesting. And hey, what a great budget. What a great budget plan. Your fixed rent for living in this historical street. So we inquired about the housing, and they don't have Airbnb-like situations. They are long-term housing for low, is by your income. And the rent can range from $700 to $1,000 a month, but again, it's income based. You do an application. They have an HR department here, but that's Monday through Friday. So today, nobody was there to tell me, or you know, so I could apply. But again,
yeah, you would have to stay there for like what, a year?
Yeah, it's like a for real lease. It's like a like when you're really going to get. I don't have any cash. Yeah, so it's so that's the way that works. So again, it could sound like it's inexpensive, right? When you say $700, $1,000 a month, but at the same time, if your income is low, therefore you qualify for it, it's kind of even, right? What may be inexpensive for you could be expensive for somebody else. So that's how that works. And again, I still want to inquire because she said a month. She said 30 days. Like I want to stay for like 30 days. Like a retreat.
Yeah.
So yeah, and then they were saying like the person who's been living there since the 80s, like her rent is probably like around $300 a month because she's grandfathered in. So that is pretty dope. That's pretty dope. But he was saying the inside is very modern. You know, so don't let the outside fool you because the outside has to look a certain way for historical purposes, but inside is super modern with all of the latest amenities, upgrades, all of that. He was like, it's really nice in some of them, and you know, so yeah. So there you have it, guys. Thank you all for being here with us, and we are gonna see y'all in the next episode. Don't forget to thumbs up. Yeah, you said something to them yesterday, right?
Yes, you did.
Yeah, you was on.
Got you.
Yeah,
Got you here.
That's what I was saying.
yeah, you was on. You was on
Hey,
his.
y'all know y'all ain't gonna forget.
Yup. Yeah.
No, sis. Sis.
There you go.
Uh-huh.
Actually gave me some.
Yeah.
There you go.
Now
So-
the word can't even try to go.
All right.
So yeah, thank y'all. Thumbs up, talk to us in the comments, and subscribe if you want to go on more adventures with us.
Yes.
Time to go get something to eat now.
Oh yes. Worked up my appetite. Come on, my tour guy.
I can't get you out of my mind. It's like I feel it for the first time. Been thinking about you all night. I've been searching for this all my life.